I'm Matthias and I'm a medical student here from Bonn, Germany. I'm 24 years old. I'm in my 5th year of studying right now. And yeah, I'm here to answer some questions for you guys. Well, I've had a very special experience when I was 16. We had to do an internship in a social institution that our school told us to do. And a very good friend of mine, he asked me to go to Rwanda with him in Central Africa because his aunt is leading a hospital there. So I spent 1 month working in that hospital in Rwanda, and I saw with how little means one person could help many people, and the way that she helped them was just so overwhelming that when I came home I was sure that that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to do that work to help people, and that's why I'm here. So I'm studying at my hometown university at the University of Bonn. Staying here was quite the easy decision because after graduating high school in Germany is what's called Abitur. I spent a year abroad. I went to the Bronx in New York and lived there for a year, did some social work, and also figured that New York, or in general like really big cities, are too much for me. So I figured I'd stay at a smaller city, and Bonn is just the perfect size, and the university is quite well known for having good medical studies. I knew some people that studied medicine here as well, and they were really happy. So that's why I'm here. So my first semester actually was quite the shock for me because I expected to learn lots of medical things, lots of diseases, and ways to cure diseases. And then I saw my first timetable for the semester, and it only had chemistry and biology on it, and I was quite and physics. Yeah, so I was quite shocked, and chemistry was quite the task for me because I was never much of a science kid in school, so chemistry and physics weren't my strong suits. So the first semester was just me really sitting down and studying some subjects that I hadn't really taken the time or the effort to really learn. And the first exam that I did was inorganic chemistry, and I failed. So that was the first thing that I did in medical school was fail my first exam, but that didn't keep me from continuing. And on the second try, I passed the exam at the end of the first semester. So yeah, that was my first semester was really hard because it was quite the shock, and there were only really few coincidental pieces of clinical knowledge that we gained along the way, but it was a lot of science, and it's called the preclinical studies in Germany. So that was quite the shock in the first semester. Yeah. So in Germany, there's basically two main ways of studying medicine depending on what university you go to. So one is called the Regelstudiengang, which is like the traditional way of studying medicine. It's the first 2 years, so 4 semesters, are considered the preclinical part of studying, which is, like I said, a lot of sciences, so chemistry, physics, biology, biochemistry, physiology, anatomy, and a bit of psychology. So those are the first 4 semesters, and after those first 4 semesters, where those subjects are spread across more or less, there's the first state exam. So you don't do bachelor masters, but it's state exam in Germany. So there's just some few courses of study, like some engineering studies, teaching, pharmaceutical studies, law, and medical. Those are the courses of study that still require state exams. And then after that first state exam, you move to the clinical part of studying, where I'm at right now. And there you actually study at the university clinic, and you have clinical studies. You have the subjects, you have pharmacology, you have surgery, you have internal medicine and urology and anesthesiology and all those different specifications of medical studies. And that's the part where it started to be really interesting for me. And there's basically from the preclinical studies, there's one subject that I'm still stuck with. It's anatomy, because I'm doing a tutoring as well. So it's my second year of tutoring anatomy to 3rd semesters. There's a course called macroscopic anatomy, which is 10 students and 1 corpse, and you learn the anatomy by cutting open and dissecting that corpse. And it's a really impressive way of studying anatomy, because I was never much of a book learner. It never stuck with me to just read, okay, so under this muscle there's that nerve. But once I was at that, I was standing over the corpse and I lifted up the muscle and there was that nerve, and that stuck with me. So that's one of my favorite parts of studying medicine. Okay, so right now I'm back studying in the university, and Corona has changed a lot of stuff. So most of my subjects are online right now, and there's not really much practical classes going on. In the summer, I did an internship at a urology station in one of the hospitals in Bonn, the Waldkrankenhaus. And there I spent 4 weeks. Every morning at 7:30 we started doing rounds, and I drew the blood from the patients and put in some intravenous accesses to put in IVs, and I also helped with the surgeries, and I could stand at the table and hold some stuff, and I did sonograms and everything. So I was basically like a bit of a resident there, and that was a really cool internship that I could do. The classic way of studying is that after the 4 semesters of preclinical studies, you have your first state exam, and then it's 6 semesters of clinical studies. But since I did 1 semester of Erasmus in Valencia, I'm 1 semester behind. So I'm basically like study-wise, I'm in my 8th semester, but time-wise in my 9th. So after this, I have 2 more semesters to go. But I also would like to take a break semester to do a doctor's thesis, like my MD. And then after that, there's the second state exam, and then I have 1 year, which is called the practical year, where you complete 3 rounds of 3 to 4 months each, before in different stations. So one part has to be in an internal medicine station, one part has to be at a surgical station, and the third part is that you can choose yourself. And then afterwards there's the third state exam, and then that's it. So basically it's at least 6 years of studying that you have to do, but with the breaks that I'm taking, I'm either doing 7 or 7.5 years. So the process afterwards is that you, like lots of times already in your practical year, you're offered a residency at a hospital, mostly that you do your practical year at. So mostly after doing your third state exam, you already have a job that you will start afterwards. And then depending on what kind of field you want to specialize in, it's 4 to 7 years of specialization afterwards. But you are already working as a resident, as a doctor, while you're doing your specialization here in Germany. So since I'm planning on at least doing something surgical, I'll be facing at least 6 years of specialization, but they'll already consider working and operating, all that stuff. Yeah. Already a doctor, and you're an approved physician after completing your studies. Okay. But so you're still an Assistenzarzt or something. So that's what we call assistant doctor when you start working at a hospital. But to actually do your specialization and do a Facharzt, which it's called, that takes at least 4 more years and 1 more exam. But you can already work without the specialization, but only as an employed doctor. After finishing your studies, you get your approbation, and after that, you're already for example, if you're on a plane and you have your approbation, like I did my third state exam, and I have my approbation, and I say, okay, I want to go on a big holiday before, and I'm on the plane, and somebody has a heart attack, and they ask, is there a doctor here? I would be legally obliged to say, yeah, I am. Right now, wouldn't count on it. Okay, so about the compensation, like you already said, I'm not that much into how much money I'll actually earn, because I know that it'll be enough. Because in first semester, a doctor told us, because we had this one class where doctors would present their specialties to us to tell us what the typical patients are, how a day usually works at that specialty. And he opened up by telling us, okay, so most of you will probably be really much interested in how much you'll earn. And what I can tell you from my personal experience is that it'll be enough for a wife and 3 kids, and you can still buy a nice car and have a nice house. If you split from your wife, get a new one, and 3 more kids, then you should start looking for a second job. But considering 1 wife, 3 kids, that usually works out really well with the doctor's compensation. Yeah, so I really like spending time with my family, and I really enjoy spending time with them, and I really enjoy all the advantages that I get from living really close with my parents. I get food from the butcher shop for free, and there's a lot of things that I can use and lots of resources that they give me. So just helping them out in the shop is something that is natural, that comes naturally. I've helped in the shop since basically since I could walk, and I will probably continue to do so until I move away to work somewhere else. And it's a really nice thing for me to do something else than study all day long as well. So it comes naturally. Okay, so for concluding, I can say studying medicine here in Germany is a really, really rewarding thing, and I can cordially invite you to do so too, because I think it's a really great thing. And as my father always used to say, hard work really pays off. And if you have any more questions about stuff like this, just join Joe and Pepe, ask them. You can always consider them.